The issue today is, why is Baltimore City spending $80 million for a new jail? So what I want to do is introduce you to some guests who've come out tonight in opposition to building a new jail in Baltimore City for $80 million. Hi, I'm Janice McLean, and today we're here with a special segment on civil rights and human rights. We are at the War Memorial Plaza in Baltimore City. And so right now I have the pleasure of speaking with Rodney Burris, who is with the Democratic State Central Committee. Hi, Rodney.
Hello, Janice, how are you?
I'm great. So let's talk about why you're here tonight.
Yes, I'm here because we want to do something different with the funds instead of build a new jail for our youth in Baltimore City.
Okay, so do something different like what?
Oh man, Janice, there could be so many different things. We could improve the rec centers, we could improve the schools, we can create indoor pools. There are so many different opportunities that we can do besides building another warehouse for our youth.
So there's already money allotted for youth and for libraries and PAL centers, so why is this money more important than the money they already have that's not being well utilized right now?
Well, that's a good question, Janice, and that's because we don't have enough opportunities yet. Yes, there's money being allocated to youth resources in the city, but compared to the need, the demand is still high. And so in times when the demand is high, if we have a special pot of money, and instead of doing something positive to promote the youth or to support them, if you think about it, this youth jail, I have a 5-year-old son. This youth jail is not going to be ready for those that need it right now. It's going to be ready in time for my son.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And my son could benefit from playgrounds. He could benefit from football leagues and basketball leagues. And, you know, I've tried to do those things with them, but having that support from the state and from the city government would just make it even that much more accessible for all families.
So what do the people on the State Central Committee propose for this money if it is reallocated?
That's a good question. There's 42 of us that sit on the Central Committee, and the majority of us are against using this money for the youth jail. Personally, I am taking a stance as a Central Committee member, as a homeowner, as a dad, to make sure that they hear our voices, that our legislators reallocate the money, and we're heard down in Annapolis where these decisions are made.
Wow, Annapolis, that's always interesting. Rodney Burris, thank you.
Thank you,
My pleasure. Okay, guys, stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
The governor has said, well, let's wait a minute, let's think about this. He commissioned a study. Our state legislature, many of our representatives are here tonight, have said, let's have some hearings. And what we believe and feel and see and conclude is that we don't need the jail.
That's right. Say it.
We do need to correct the problem. There is a problem that the federal government said fix. The state put up the money, and we said, good, okay, we got the money. So let's fix the problem that does 3 things. 1, provides alternative to detentions.
That's right.
2, provides recreation for our kids.
That's
and
right.
3, provides jobs for our kids.
That's right.
Hi, we are back with more of our special segment. I'm host Janice McLean. We are at the War Memorial Plaza in Baltimore City, and I have the pleasure of talking with Mary Pat Clark, who is from the 14th District.
Yes, I am.
And Mary Pat has been around for a while, and she's always been fighting for a good cause, and I know you're going to tell us why you're out tonight in support of this opposition.
Well, I'm out tonight to fight against using precious state money to build and then support a new youth jail in Baltimore City. We don't need it, but we do need the money. We need that money for rec centers and for operating rec centers so that we won't need any youth facilities except great jobs and opportunities.
Now, you know, I'm curious about who actually proposed building a new jail in Baltimore City.
That came out of the bureaucracy in Annapolis. So it came out of the prison system, I guess, or the juvenile justice system. Mm-hmm. That was really several years ago now, and advocates have beaten it back pretty well.
Now, when you say advocates, who are you speaking of?
I mean youth advocates from Baltimore City especially. Mm-hmm. We have said from the very beginning, hold it, we need the money, but not for this. Mm-hmm. So a number of groups from Baltimore, very heavily led by youth themselves, that have said to the state, we want the money, but not for this. We've won some victories, we've had some setbacks. This is the last big push to get what we need for kids, not what a bureaucracy thinks we need, and they're wrong.
Now, last question. You know, I'm always curious when you have a council that is consists of a lot of minority members.
Oh, yeah.
How do we allow a proposition like building a new jail for youth and women, because this was also about women too, how do we allow that to walk and get to this point?
Well, because first of all, it's not the city's project. So when you go to the General Assembly, which is where it comes from, we don't have that. We don't have the predominance of African Americans and minorities there. Okay, so that you ask a question and the answer is it didn't come from the city. I don't think it would have or could have. It came from the state. So
the state, you mean Annapolis,
Yes.
or is it the governor's office?
well, he's been helpful in trying to cooperate with the advocates who say, roll it back, we don't need this jail, we need the money, though, for the kids. So little by little, the bureaucracy has turned around and done reports that say they agree we don't need the jail.
Right.
Now we're just trying to close the deal and say, hang it up, let's go.
Okay, Mary Pat Clark, thank you. And again, your district is?
The 14th District of the Baltimore City Council.
Okay, thank you. God bless you. I love you. It's always nice seeing you.
It's
So,
a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, guys, stay tuned, and we'll be back with more.
Good evening. So, we took on all kinds of inequality on Tuesday, but our job's not done.
Go ahead.
All kinds of equality still exists.
Yeah.
We have inequality, racial biases that exist in our criminal justice system. We have inequality when we have 250,000 families that go to sleep hungry every night. We have inequality when we have crumbling schools and we're talking about building jails. We have to be the voices about our choices. Do we spend $492 on locking everyone up, or do we spend $15 on recreation? Do we lift our children up, or do we lock them up? Do we put our kids behind bars or behind a cash register? Do we build our crumbling schools back up, or do we build jails? I have been honored to stand with your colleagues here in the Baltimore City delegation to fight against this jail in Annapolis, and you will continue to be the voices for our choices, lifting us up and saying no. Baltimore, we can do this together. Thank you for putting up a good fight.
Let me just say, first of all, it took us almost 2 decades to move the compulsory attendance age from 16 to 18. 2 decades, because they told us that it would cost $40 million if we allowed our children who were not in school to come back to school. We did it, we finally did it, we did it this year because we owe our young people, not incarceration, but education. I don't know a child, if you put your arms around them and help lead them in the right direction, that they won't go in that direction. And so we are telling the state, and I can say to you all, when this discussion first began, it was the 40th district, and it will change. And we stood strong, and I know that we will continue to stand strong to say, we don't want this in the 40th district. We don't want this in the state of Maryland. In fact, this is not the direction that we ought to be taking our country in. When we talk about our young people, we have to talk about education, recreation, and let's move them forward so they become the kind of young people that we want them to become. We're not just talking about leaders in Baltimore City, we're talking about leaders of the state of Maryland. We're talking about being in the forefront of leaders of this nation, because when we can have as many colleges and universities in this state that we have, there ought to be a pipeline from our high schools to our colleges and our universities. Let's move our state forward. Let's continue to support our young people, and we're there with you. Thank you.
This jail is for youth in Baltimore City. Youth, and they're building a multi-million, $100 million jail for Baltimore City youth. No, let us not be mistaken. This is another attack on Baltimore City. And we cannot allow for them to keep attacking us. They took away our population. They took away our money. They're trying to take away money that should be going to our schools and put it in jails. But we have to stand together to say, no, you won't. No, you won't, state of Maryland.
Hi, we are back with more of our special segment on civil rights and human rights. I'm host Janice McLean for this special segment, and we are at the War Memorial Plaza in Baltimore, Maryland. We're at a campaign in opposition of building a new jail for $80 million. Wow. So I have another wonderful guest who's going to talk to us more about why she's here tonight in opposition to building that jail. Her name is Tessa Hill Aston, and she is the president of the NAACP in Baltimore, Maryland. Hello, Tessa.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. So let's talk about what brings you out tonight.
Well, I've actually been serving on the committee with this organization, Safe and Sound, for the past 2 years, and we have been meeting, and the youth have been taking the lead on most of it, which I'm thoroughly impressed with. They're bright, they can write, they can talk, and they know how to present themselves. One of the things is that the jail is in walking distance of where we're standing right now, and we don't need another juvenile jail because we're building things to put children away, and especially African American males. I've been there lots of times to work with children. We don't need that. We need more money into the schools. We need more money into recreation. I'm a proud product of Cherry Hill. I participated in recreation, and I became a lifeguard at 15 years old, and I still swim. So as you grow older and you see things, you know what really works when you've been a product of something good, and you're from the community, and I work in the community, and now being the NAACP president, I see what we really need, and we need to do things to encourage children to be part of the process of government that see that it's working for them and not against them. We need places for children to do good things, not bad things.
Now, you know, my question is, how was this bill or this legislation allowed to even get this far?
Well, I think too many people thought that they needed.
3, 2, 1.
So, you know, the question that I'm curious about is how does a piece of legislation like this for a jail, specifically in Baltimore City, how is this allowed to walk?
Well, I think based on what I've heard and what the participation that I've been in, I think that the jail around the corner in walking distance of where we're standing, as I was saying, on Gay Street, it's a juvenile facility where it has juvenile court cases and a facility for children to sleep in. I think when they built it smaller than what they thought, so they're thinking they need more. So you don't need to put more beds and make more room. You need to try to do things to prevent, and that's what this is all about. If that's too small, then let it stay the way it is, and we try to do things to prevent children from going there. I think that a lot of legislators across the whole state of Maryland that participate in the political process, I don't want to name names of people, but to think negative of Baltimore City.
Right.
So they think that because there are in other counties and other areas that they want to indict Baltimore. So let's put the money there to lock them up and not to help them. But let me just say another thing. I just came from the Baltimore City shelter, Code Blue, which is only about a half a block from this place. I interviewed about 4 men. Not one of them was from Baltimore, Maryland. They were from Harford County, Cecil County, because they come here to get our facilities because at night they know they can go into the shelters, hang around the hospitals. So the same thing with the youth. All the youth in there are not from Baltimore. They could have migrated here because downtown Baltimore is open all night. They can sleep underneath of bridges. When they don't have a place, they run away from their counties, their families, and come here. So when they get locked up, they're saying statistically that they're Baltimore, and they're not. So everybody in Baltimore is not in jail. There's wonderful children right here tonight that are doing great things. We don't need more beds. We need programs and money going to things to keep children from Gay Street.
Now, you know, you bring up a good point because, you know, I said, you know, and I've had my own issues, and I'll explain why. And I also believe that, you know, when you don't understand what the laws are and you allow people, you know, sometimes it's not even really anything that you're doing.
Exactly.
Sometimes people try to make an example of you. Hint, hint. You know, because you're trying to make a difference. Now, the NAACP has always been an organization that has made a difference.
Yes.
Now there's, you know, some people have a feeling that the NAACP is not as powerful as it used to be. Can you're doing something with the youth? Is that a new way to reinvigorate? And also the programs that you guys, you know, what new programs do you have?
We do lots of things that people don't want to pay attention to. We have an AXO program. I just left my office, and the lady who runs our AXO program, we're the #1 in the state. We win most of the awards.
Now, what is
there.
AXO?
AXO is a youth program that was started years ago by one of the forefathers of the NAACP, where children are in competition with greatness and goodness, just like Safe and Sound, where children learn things and are in competition with culinary, with singing, science, and they go every year and they win awards, and we also have programs where children get scholarships. I would say that when people say the NAACP is not as strong as it used to be, that is totally not true. We worked all across the whole United States to help with bills being passed, such as marriage equality. Maybe someone doesn't agree with that.
Right.
That's okay.
And that's all
but
right.
But right
yeah.
now, if you come to any NAACP office any day, we get phone calls off the hook. We're all volunteers. And one of the things that is really dear to my heart is that not a day goes by that we don't get a letter from somebody from prison. We don't get them just from Baltimore, Maryland. We get them from the whole United States with people asking for help.
Yeah.
They're disenfranchised from their families.
Yeah.
Some of them don't have families. Some of them in jail, and their families are in jail. They write the NAACP. They don't know who anybody else to write, and we deliver.
Right.
We deliver
Right.
back to them.
And I do think that you guys are needed now a lot more than people think.
Racism
and when
is
you mention
alive.
Harford County and Cecil County, they don't even have a homeless shelter. I think there's 2.
No, they come to Baltimore.
And there's a, I also believe there's a reason for that
Exactly.
too. But anyway, lastly, I want to say, follow the money.
Yes.
Because I think that this comes down to money.
Yes.
So, who benefits
Well,
if that jail is built?
I've had relatives that have been in jail, and when I used to go to the jail that's up the street from the juvenile jail, when you walk in, you have to lock up your coat, you have to lock up your purse, and you get a key. Sometimes you even have to put money in it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put your clothes in the bag, you have to put it in a paper bag. Someone's manufacturing those bags.
Right.
For every inmate, there's toilet paper in their cell, and they get a bag, toothpaste, toothbrush. Who's manufacturing it? Somebody's making money. For everybody who gets locked up, somebody's making some money. And they're living large while we're locking up black people.
But I want to know who is in charge, who owns the prisons, it's about, and we could go on and on and on about
let's just
this,
say
but yeah.
hypothetically or realistically that the government owns the jails.
Right.
But it's private industry that makes money off of it.
Wow.
So somebody is making money, which comes back to operate the jail. So it is a money-making opportunity for lots of people.
Wow.
And people get brownie points for all that.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. It is, and sometimes it's black people that are locking up black people and creating opportunities for
Exactly.
themselves.
But let me just
at
add one
our
more thing.
expense, which is really sad.
NAACP, people who say that we're not needed, when someone in their family gets in trouble, they call the NAACP.
Absolutely, because who else?
Yes. We have a lot of strength.
And we need, and that also,
Exactly.
that's what I want my youth leaders to talk about.
Yes.
What youth leaders or what new leaders do we have who are stepping up to the plate, because there's still much work to be done.
Lots of
But
work
if
to be
people
done.
want to talk to you, how do they get in touch with you?
They can call the office at 410-366-3300, and we're at 8 West 26th Street, Baltimore, Maryland, right off of 25th Street.
Okay.
Yes,
Tessa
thank
Hill
you.
Aston, thank you. My
so
pleasure.
much. Great.
Okay, thank you. All right, 1 second. Okay, guys, stay tuned and we'll be back with some more guests. We'll be back.
You are not alone, even when you think you are. When your world comes crashing down, gotta build your way out. And you gotta keep focused, 'cause the doors will surely open again. Look to faith and be inspired. You're a courageous warrior, and I will fight until the end.
Looking at my life, realizing I'm almost grown. No one's seen me. I'll be on my own. Thanks to myself about what they did and the effect that it would have on all the kids. Planning to spend 117 to lock up African American young teens. Investing money to put us away. Not investing money for us to have a brighter day.
Say it.
Say it again.
Enough is enough.
Yeah.
We're not taking no more.
Yeah.
No more.
We are more than The Wire. We are Baltimore. They were elected by us to lead.
That's right.
The time is now to call upon them to help us thrive and succeed.
Say it again.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. The greatest problem in our community is the lack of opportunity for our kids, for all kids. It is frustrating. We see our young people just hanging out on the corners, but there's nothing in the community for them. I don't know one community in Baltimore that is calling for a new jail. Do you know of any?
There's one.
All right. We do not discuss how we can lock up more of our kids. No, we are fighting for more opportunity, more recreation, sports, art, music, and play. It costs $494 a day to keep a young person in detention. Yes, it does. $494 a day. It costs $42 a day to work with a kid in a community center.
Thank you so much, Hathaway. I'm just here to support the kids and the youth, and I agree with my colleagues from both the 12th and the City Council President. We all stick together.
Yes, you do.
We are going to make sure that nothing goes over there except for when you are one, and that those fundings go back to our children.
That's right, Council.
We shouldn't be building no new jails. We should be providing programs for those kids. Thank you so much.
Well, if I could just come up with sort of an analogy, the war on drugs in this country has been an abysmal, tragic failure, wasting billions of dollars, incarcerating millions of Americans who basically have a health problem. And I think what we have here is an analogy that the war on our kids in the inner cities of America has wasted millions of dollars, incarcerating thousands of kids who basically have an opportunity problem. And what we need to be doing is investing this money in opportunity to make sure that all of our kids thrive. And that's what we're all here for today. So thank you very much for coming, and make sure you come to the
Maryland stands at a similar crossroads. Will we spend our money to educate our kids, to give them the opportunity to read at grade level by the time they end third grade, so that they have opportunities to graduate from high school, to graduate from college, to get a job and to become productive citizens? Or do we spend it on a state-of-the-art jail, basically, that is designed solely to treat the dysfunction caused by poverty, lack of education, opportunities, and options?
Hello, Baltimore. I believe that we're called to fight for justice. We can be the change that we pray for. I believe that all of us in our hearts, we all want equal opportunity for all of the city's youth. Our children don't need prevention programs. They don't need government's charity. They need same chances for success as the children in other parts of the state. As a believer, I know what my God calls me to.
Say it again.
He calls us to feed the hungry, to shelter the homeless, to clothe the naked, and I'm also called to be an adversary of injustice.
That's right.
Erase disparities, defeat discrimination. We are more than just good Samaritans. We are martyrs for social justice. We must stop the construction of the new jail. But that is not just enough. We must fight for our children's affirmative opportunity and make sure that the state reinvests the jail money in jobs, recreation, and alternatives.
I am Kylie Slimmons, the youth pastor of Empowerment and one of the senior leadership of Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryan. I stand here today instead humbled and honored to see so many people who believe it is important to stand against building more juvenile detention centers. It has been noted that opportunity does not knock, it presents itself when you beat down the door. Today we must beat down the door of modern oppression for the youth of Baltimore. Our young people do not need more jail cells, they need more cultural enrichment centers, peer counseling, and creative arts programs. I stand this evening with safe and sound, and I let the people of God know, to let the community of people know that we are here in this place to make a commitment that we will not put another dime in detention centers when our children need more development centers. Our first outlet to young people should not be imprisonment before we have considered to have more enlightenment. We need to provide our young people with more outlets away from streets, on drugs, from the things that infested communities. We need our recreation centers out after school programs implemented into this community. Empowerment Temple focuses on 50 plus kids a day, feeding them every day and tutoring them every day for free, because we understand the importance of investing in our children. After-school programs and recreation programs are a beacon light to the community, and if we invest in our young people, we will see our children having more opportunities to succeed in this society. We want to give our young people a chance. We want to give our young people a chance. Therefore, we must shut down this notion that building up a detention center is important. Thank you very much.
When we do it here in Maryland, just like we did on Tuesday, when it came to undocumented children, when it came to recognizing unfamilies, nobody thought we could do something like that in the state. We're going to turn back the tide when it comes to young people and the incarceration of African American and low-income white children in this country. Thank you.
Okay, hi, and so we are back with more of our special segment on civil rights and human rights. I have the pleasure of talking right now with C.D. Witherspoon, who's with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Hello, Mr. Witherspoon. Thank you for talking with me today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Now, you're out tonight here at the rally. We're at War Memorial Plaza in Baltimore in opposition to building a new $80 million facility. Let's talk about why you're here tonight.
I'm here because I think it's appalling, and quite frankly, I'm outraged that our state would allot and set aside monies to build a youth jail when we're closing down recreation centers, we're slashing funding to summer jobs, and we're even closing firehouses in already vulnerable neighborhoods. We need to redirect those dollars into the community and invest in people as opposed to buildings.
So now we're all in fight mode. Now we want to, keep it from being built. So I'm wondering, why did nobody know about this before we got to crisis mode? What happened? Did you hear about this being built?
Well, I would submit to you that 2 years ago, when they first locked up the area that they were going to use to build the youth jail, I was one of 4 people that popped the lock on that youth jail and participated in what could have been a civil disobedience act in opposition to this particular issue. I've been part of a committee for about 2 years. Some people are just getting on board with this fight. What I'm hoping that people will do is leave here fired up and ready to go, not just today, but every single day. We've got a variety of different fights on our hands in Baltimore City in relationship to public education and housing, issues in relationship to criminal justice for young people and adults. So we don't need to just be fired up today because Reverend Jackson is here, but we need to be fired up every single damn day because our children are hurting, our communities are hurting, our seniors are hurting, and we need to fight like hell until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
Okay, so if you have the opportunity yourself to make this right, how would you do that?
All of the money that's already been allotted, there's been millions of dollars that's already been set aside for this particular youth jail. I'd put that money into recreation centers. The ones that were closed this past summer, I'd open those recreation centers back up. I'd make sure we have before and after school programs for our young people. I'd make sure that we increase the budget for summer jobs and also after school jobs, because we recognize that those things are a really, really strong deterrent to even the need for a youth detention center or for crime. So I'd put the money into the community where the people are. We've got too much money being invested downtown and in the harbor. I'd invest the community and the money in the communities where the people are. I'd invest in people as opposed to buildings and things.
Okay, so my question of the night has been, is this jail needed? Does anybody know what the statistics are? Are they going up? Are they going down? Have they stayed the same?
The governor commissioned a study himself last year.
Now this is Governor O'Malley.
The governor did, which clearly articulated a reduced need for the jail. A reduced need. His own study that he commissioned.
Wow.
And then on top of that, there was an article recently done in the Baltimore Sun that indicated that youth crime is down in Baltimore City by 50%. Well, statewide. So that says to me that there is a reduced need for this jail. This says to me that the same governor that imposed zero tolerance policing, which led to the illegal arrest of thousands of African American men, is still on the same mantra. And we need to be cognizant of this, because we have a person here who wants to be president of the United States. I don't know what type of right-wing adage he's attempting to peddle, or he's attempting to appeal to, but we need to be cognizant of this. Do not incarcerate our children, because we won't stand for it. We will picket, we will protest, we will go to jail, we will even sue the state of Maryland if we have to. I have a 3-year-old child, and one of the bricks on that jail was built for my son.
Yeah.
It's got his name on it, and we're going to fight
and
like
the girls. Oh, they're, you know,
absolutely.
The girls have now become part of that system too, but that's another whole show. Listen, I would love to have you back in February. We do a show on civil rights and human rights, and a show called Today's Black Man, and love to hear your thoughts on that. So if people want to reach you, how do they do that?
Sure, 410-500-2168, 410-500-2168.
My pleasure. Thank you. Okay. All right, guys, stay tuned, and we'll be back with more.
It is wonderful to look out at all you beautiful people when we're standing here together for the youth of Baltimore on this beautiful night. 99% of the youth who are being held behind bars in our city are African American. This fact doesn't surprise us. And we didn't need a new national study to tell us that African American youth and white youth receive different penalties.
That's right.
When they commit the same offense.
So we're here, and now we have Carol Helm and Dusty Jackson. So let's talk about why you're here and why this program got started. We'll start with you, Karen.
We are very much aware, because we've had two authoritative studies that have told us that we don't need a new youth jail. What we need is better organization of the justice system and alternatives to prison, and we want to use the balance of the money that would have been used for the jail to fund opportunity in our impoverished, isolated neighborhoods.
What we want to build in our district is a place where young people can succeed. It is, if we took care and gave the opportunities to young people who are deserving, if we did that, we would have no need to have this house that they want to build for our young people. They've already decided. They've already understand, you know this, that they want to build a jail that's 3 times as big as the one they have now, because they've already determined that that's where they want to put our children. Instead of building our school buildings, instead of renovating our schools, stop closing our rec centers and our pools. I know my timer is here.
And that is what we're here for. Thank you.
We're here for opportunity.
I'm Councilman Scott. Today for me, it's about building the future of Baltimore, and we do that by providing young people the opportunities that myself and my colleague Councilman Mosby had growing up, and expanding those. We do that because we want our young people to grow and to have families. We want our families to stay here for generations on generations on generations. And the only way we can do that is to ensure that we keep opportunities out there for them, but also that we expand those opportunities and change those opportunities over time to fit what the young people need and not what we old folks think that they want. So we believe we have to continue to do that. Thank you so much.
My name is Councilman Nick Mosby of the 7th District, and I think it's pretty clear that when we look at today and we look at the statistics, I'm a numbers man, and we see the double-digit declines of juvenile violence through our city, and we touted it as something that's great, and we looked at that trajectory and we expanded on year and year to come. We do not need this jail. It makes no sense. That's right. I think that we have to do a better job of understanding the math. And when I say math, that's not betting down on our children, but betting up on our children. That's critically important. So I stand before you today. I've had the opportunity to meet every single young man and woman who's currently housed at the lockup right now. And I understand, and I had the opportunity of understanding and knowing their stories. And I know their stories are just like stories of our brothers, our sisters, our cousins, whether we're black, we're brown, we're white or green. And I know that we have to come together and continue to fight, because this is a fight against generations of unborn children. Because building this jail and betting down on our children today will affect generations to come. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I sit on the Appropriation Committee, and it really bothers me when someone comes in with the mindset that if we build it, they will come. Now, the money that's going to a jail should go into our young people. That's right. I've never seen a kid yet that said that I want to go to jail in order to get a great education. When they start talking about we're having the state-of-art school, we're having the state-of-art recreation center, I've never heard one yet say that I want to go to jail to get that. I have a painting that's hanging in my house now that was painted by an inmate who's doing life that never knew he could paint until he was incarcerated. And if we had programs in the community, do you know how many people, how many young lives we could have that would say just like that? I have talent and I don't need no jail for you.
And this money needs to be put towards opportunity because I'm worth the investment. Everybody in here worth the investment. Youth all over Baltimore City is worth this investment. Okay? And I'm gonna tell y'all why. Growing up as a kid, I was always in trouble. In trouble in school, in trouble at home. By the 7th grade, I was in and out of jail. But I never let that define me as a person. I never became content with that and let that, So basically, what I'm saying is this money has to be spent in a positive way because we don't need no prevention programs. What does we prevent? We don't need no new youth jail because we're going to spend this money on opportunity, and when we do, it won't be no youth to lock up.
What this made me think about when I was thinking about why this jail, why we don't need this, why we need to think about this in a different fashion, I thought about success. And what is success? And how we have to reframe the idea of success. We have to make it so people understand working hard, being a part of our society, is not denying anyone success. Setting everyone up for an opportunity is how we will make our city and our state, our nation, a great place. So when we decide to build a jail, we're not investing in success. We're not treating everyone equally. We're not providing opportunity. And we aren't saying that young people, no matter wherever they start, have an opportunity to succeed. So,
good afternoon to everyone. Well, I'm so excited to see so many of you here today. When they first talked about building this jail, I went ballistic, if anybody know what that is. Because I know that building a jail, like they say, if they build it, they will fill it. And I believe that if they use that same analogy and put that money into rebuilding our rec centers, rebuilding our schools, making sure there's recreation opportunities for all young people throughout this city. And in our schools, I want to say this. We used to have physical education. We don't even have enough money to have physical education in our schools for our kids. And then they want to know why our kids are fidgety in school. They need to take that money and put that money into opportunities for our youth. I said hell no to the jail and hell yeah to money for opportunity for our youth.
I was born by the river in a little tent, Lord, just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, will. Oh, I go to the movies and I go down south, and they keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Oh, then I go to my brother. Oh, and I say, brother, help me please. Oh, then it winds up knocking me back down on my knees, Lord. There are times that I thought I would last for long, and now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes.
Good evening.
to all of you who have gathered here out of your concern for justice. What makes our gathering here critical is that we understand that the conversation about building a detention center is really at the bottom of the waterfall to deeper, more embedded despair that runs through our city.
Hi, and we are back with more of our special segment at War Memorial Plaza in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm host Janice McLean, and here I have with me Pastor Todd Geary, who's with Douglas Memorial Church. So hi, Pastor. Nice to meet you.
Good to see you.
Okay, so let's talk about what brings you out tonight in support of opposition of this jail being built in Baltimore City.
Well, one, we recognize that there are indicators that say that this particular answer does not really solve the problem. So building the jail to accomplish a particular result is not really where the itch is, so to speak. So we're really looking at, all right, what is the real issue? What are we really trying to resolve? What are the other areas that need to be considered in this process that will allow us to make a more creative investment in the health and vibrancy of our community and our young people?
Okay, so why have we not done this before now?
You know, I can't really say why. You know, the question is, what are we going to do now that we're here? So the analysis of the delay or whatever the case may be, we can spend a lot of time over-analyzing why it's taken us that long to get here, and all that does is take energy away from what we're going to do now that we are here. So what we're really trying to focus on is, now that we're here, how do we engage in a constructive and credible conversation around a problem that, again, as I mentioned in my earlier remarks, if we're talking about a detention facility, and when we look at the kids that end up in this facility, we know that there's underemployment in the home, we know that there are educational concerns in the home, we know that there's housing stability in these families. There are other contributing factors other than the fact that these are just bad kids. And so let's look creatively at a systemic approach to resolving a problem that hopefully will become a non-problem. If we invest on the front end, we don't have to build prisons on the back end.
On the back end, right. Okay, I agree with you. Now, when I say this question, I get mixed answers. Follow the money. What comes to mind for you when I say that?
Well, accountability. Is the money being spent for the purpose in which it's intended? Now, but also following the money, you can tell what the priorities and the values are based on the dollars and how they're committed. So if I want to see what your plan is, all I need to do is look at your budget. I don't need to look at your bank account, because your budget is going to show where you're going to allocate the dollars if you had them, which is going to help me to identify where your priorities really are. And so following the money is, first, what's in the budget? The budget is the plan. If the dollars follow the plan, then we know what's in the budget. Many times we just look at allocation. We don't look at the budget. So what's in the budget? Because the allocation is really the fulfillment of a plan that's already set. So if we're not engaged in that conversation again on the front end, we end up with prisons on the back end.
On the back end, right. It always comes back to the back end. So when I say follow the money, I'm also more interested in what companies are funding it, who's constructing it, who's the architect on the project. And I mention that because often I notice that with certain projects, there are certain companies that continuously come up. And most of them are not minority companies, too, I might mention. So are there minority businesses being, or is the community getting any of this money in any way?
I think that's a different conversation. That's a conversation about what happens with procurement. Our issue is we don't want procurement in this end.
Right.
So if we're going to begin to talk about who's going to be the architect and the designer, to some degree we've already committed to the fact that it's going up, right? So let's put that conversation on hold. Let's look at the real issue, which is the kids that are in the system, charged as adults for violent crimes, needing a place to be housed separate and apart from adults. Now, what gets them at that point is, what were the contributing factors that, had we had the proper interventions at the right time to stabilize the family, to give them good housing, to make sure that they had job training and job opportunities that could have prevented the despair that comes when you take the bottom out of the stability of the family. So when we start looking at the neighborhoods in Baltimore City and the neighborhood health profiles, underemployment, low median income, that's usually an indicator that there are other factors at play that eventually are going to produce what those factors lead you to. Despair leads to violence, leads to self-harm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, lastly, I want to say, if you had control of this project and the money being reallocated, what solution would you propose if the ball was in your court to do whatever you wanted to do to fix? Obviously, you're not going to build a jail, I know. But what would you reallocate that money to?
Is I don't, as a singular stakeholder, have the answer. So let's look at the process. How do we get stakeholders who say that we don't want this jail? What do you want, and what are you willing to put on the table to get it? It can't just be, we don't want the jail, let's take the money and do something else. Let's get all the folks in the room. As Reverend Jackson said in his comments, you have an interesting dynamic that is a potential solution. You've got urban blight that's extensive. You've got family instability that's contributing to an issue. Now you have the opportunity to get the banks, justice, the governor's cabinet people, the community stakeholders, the nonprofit organizations, the faith community, the representatives of the families in the room and say, okay, we need to come up with a collaborative proposal that gets us to a solution so that then together we identify where the dollars need to go.
Where's your church located?
Corner of Lafayette and Madison in West Baltimore, on the front side of Renaissance Academy, on the back side of the School for the Arts at Booker T. Washington.
Reverend Todd Erie, thank you for speaking
Good
with
to see you. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, guys, stay tuned, and we'll be back with more.
It is my privilege and my honor to introduce to some and present to others one who has been the champion of the cause of justice in so many ways over the years. Our trip to the Gambia was the 6th time that there was a successful resolution to a conversation that many thought could not happen. If there's anybody that I know of that can help understand how you can look at the difficulties of a situation and come out with a great resolution, it's the man that's about to come stand before you now. Won't you help me appreciate and celebrate our champion and our hero, the leader of the Rainbow Push Coalition, candidate for president in 1984 and 1988, still fighting the good fight of faith, the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr.
Say, stop the violence. Save the children. Stop the violence. Save the children. Stop the violence. Save the children. Education, not incarceration. Education, not incarceration. Development, not detention. Development, not detention. These children are our children. Stand for them. Fight for them. We can. We must. We will. We can. We must. We will. We are the people of God fighting the right fight. We will not win on Tuesday and lose on Thursday. Keep fighting back. I'm delighted to be back in Baltimore again. I want to express my thanks to Pastor Todd Erie for the invitation for being the Rainbow Point person in this city. I want to express my thanks to the City Council leaders who are here tonight, and I want you to stand. Give them a big hand. City Council leaders, stand. Put your hands together. Like they're in a minute. For the state officials, reps and senators, state officials, please stand. Put your hands together. All ministers who are present stand. Ministers stand. Put your hands together. Those who voted on Tuesday, you stand. Let me hear you scream. Let me hear you scream.
express thanks to so many in this city who set the pace for the nation. In many ways, this is a meeting in Baltimore. The struggle to revitalize urban America is going viral. So much of what happened in Baltimore set the pace for the entire country. There was a man from Baltimore named Thurgood Marshall, whose legal genius ended racial apartheid as we knew it in this country, and that's Baltimore. There was a Clarence Mitchell, who was our 101st senator before we had the right to vote. There was in this city a Parent Mitchell. I think I'm right about that. There was in this city a Congressman Cummings. There is a Morgan State until A&T shows up. There's a Coppin State. There's a Bowie. There's the Eastern Shore. Put your hands together, my friends. What a night. We come tonight in a dynamic coalition, but we did not win on Tuesday to lose on Thursday. The guy who wanted jobs to China and children to jail, he lost. So the man, repeat the man, who wanted jobs to China and jails, children, he lost. We won on Tuesday, we'll win on Thursday. Jobs and justice. Jobs, parents, education, children. Jobs, parents, education for children. Development, not detention. Development, not detention. Save our children. Stop the violence. Save the children. Red and yellow. Brown, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Everybody, somebody.
Amen.
I'll ask you a couple of basic questions. How many of you in this room tonight have a relative in jail? Stand. Have a relative in jail? Stand. Have a relative in jail? Stand. A relative in jail? Stand. Raise your hand. Be seated. You know someone who has faced home foreclosure? Stand. Home foreclosure? Stand. The banks that robbed us and took our wealth? Stand. Should be the detention center for bankers. Hands down. Maybe you have a student loan debt in your house. Be seated. You know somebody who needs a job, stand. Last one more time, you know someone who needs a job, let me hear you scream. Be seated. I raised this question when I came to the city today, still fatigued from the victory on Tuesday having to work, almost all of last week in Florida, and then in North Carolina, and then in Newport News, Hampton, Virginia, and then in Ohio the last 3 days, Cincinnati and Cleveland and Columbus. I had to come here tonight to say there are challenges beyond the election. There is now a mandate to save jobs, not shift jobs. There is a mandate to save children, not throw them away. I was arrested week before last in Freeport, Illinois in a protest. A plant called the Sensata plant that makes Sensor automotive parts in Freeport, Illinois. These workers make sensors for Honda, Toyota, and Chrysler and GM. Those workers, 175 jobs, went to China this past Monday. These Chinese workers came to America and they were trained by the Americans to replace them. But the Chinese did not take jobs from us. Don't start hating Chinese. Chinese workers did not take jobs from us. We took jobs to them. Those jobs, that plant is owned by Bain Capital. And so we fight tonight for a new policy. They must mean more than esteem and joy. It must mean policy and change. Say victory. Victory. Not just be. Esteem and joy. It must be policy and investment. Not just esteem and joy. Policy and investment. Reinvest in our neighborhoods. Rebuild America. Reinvest in our neighborhoods. Rebuild America. You know, we protested the war in Iraq. There was no basis for it. It was the wrong war. We lost lives and money and honor. The war cost $1 to $3 trillion and was the wrong target. Legislators, what could $1 trillion do tonight? Wipe out every state budget deficit, rehire every police, every teacher, every fireman, every coach, wipe out student loan debt. Behind the waste of war comes war. Now is the time to fight back, to reinvest, and to rebuild. There came in the day I first stopped, Madam Chairman, in Upland Druid Heights. I went to Booker Washington Middle School today to talk with those children. I talked with the children because it kind of starts there. I said to them, they're building the detention center for you. We want to build scholarships for you.
That's right, that's right.
You too must make some choices. I said to them, even at your young ages, grades 6, 7, 8, and 9, even you must make choices of life over death. Even you must choose hope over dope and future over. Say even the children must make choices of futures over funerals, life over death, and hope over dope. Even children must join the crusade to rebuild America and rebuild our cities. As I talked to the governor there about those youth who are designed to be the new occupants in the center that will not be built, ask how many of them had a working parent. Almost none of them do. Does it make sense to build a new house for jail and to leave an old ragged house? And the jail is better than the house? Does it stand to reason to have jail become a homeless shelter? And jail become a homeless shelter and become a place for development? Not long ago, leaders, I was in Chicago when Jennifer Hudson's mother and brother were killed. We had prayer in the neighborhood around 10 o'clock at night, and I heard some footprints. Some little gangbangers are coming my way. They came to me with a friendly face. One looked at me and began to cry. I said, Reverend, he began to cry, I really want to get well. But they've closed the detox centers. And then two more came behind them. They were a little older and said, Reverend, look, the real deal is we just got out the joint. Like, we can't find no job. We can't find no gig. They wanted us in the trade union.
That's right.
Because I embraced them looking for an answer I didn't have. It occurred to me if they went down the street to the school, they'd have 5 meals a week. If they go to jail, they get 21 meals a week. For them, jail is a homeless shelter and a jail hotel. So somehow, some way, jails not be better facilities than our houses. We must choose prenatal care, Head Start, and daycare on the front side, not jail care and welfare on the back side. And leaders, where must we go from here? Man, if you want to talk about a gun for your house, you got it. You're more likely to kill a relative than a robber, but you got it. You want a gun to hunt with, it says assault weapons, MK-16s, AK-47s, represent a threat to homeland security. We must revive the ban of assault. They have another ban in Kentucky. Kentucky, Harold Rogers District. In Appalachia, a coal miner dies every 6 hours from black lung disease. In Appalachia, 29 coal miners killed, lack of workplace safety. How do you have a debate in Kentucky no mention poverty? 50 million Americans in poverty? I mean, what poverty really means is not say poverty. It's not just a word. Poverty is low credit score, no credit score. Poverty is can't make ends meet. Poverty can't buy healthy foods. Poverty wait on sickness till it's too late. Poverty can't send your children to school. Poverty, you're nomadic and move places. Say poverty is homelessness. Half of all homeless men are beggars. We must revive the war on poverty tonight, not the war on the poor. We can have a debate in Florida and don't mention voter suppression. And by the way, next election officials, there must be a jail, a precinct inside the jail. Said precinct inside the jail. Now here's what I mean by that. Those who are in jail, not prison, are eligible to vote. But just as seniors have to have precincts in their building, the students have precincts on their campus. So those who are in jail, who are not convicted, have the right to vote. They are full citizens. Their right to vote. Their right to vote for officials. Their right to vote for judges. Their right to vote must be protected. Can I get a witness here? In my last point of officials, I raised this issue with the governor today and her honor the mayor. There are 40,000 vacant homes, abandoned lots in Baltimore. 40,000. About 100,000 in Chicago, about 100,000 in Detroit. Watch this. I said, Mr. Governor, if you were to convene Wells Fargo and the bankers were targeted and drove our wealth out through foreclosures, convene the trade unionists who lock us out of skilled trade training, convene the bankers, convene HUD, convene the Department of Justice, convene the Department of Labor. Suppose that was a plan, say plan, to rebuild 10,000 of the 40,000 of vacant lots, the abandoned houses. 10,000! I said to group ministers, I let you go not long ago in Detroit, across the street from a nice church, was everything was torn down. I said, one house. So I took 20 ministers across the street. I said, Reverend, what do you see? They said, well, we see nothing. I said, you see something. What do you see? They said, well, we see a raggedy house. I said, what else do you see? They said, we see tall grass. And what else do you see? I said, well, the tall grass, you really see landscaping jobs. The board, you see window panes that should be there and the board should go. You see hiring those who supply window panes with a job. You see broken sidewalks. So wherever the sidewalks are broken, the homes are destroyed, and workers have no job. You have broken dreams. People in poverty jump up and touch the basement. People in poverty, jail too often is a step up. Why can't we convene a leadership council, state reps are here, city council here, governors in town tonight, mayors in town? Why can't convene a plan, say a plan, to reconstruct 10,000 houses, not construct a detention center, reconstruct 10,000 houses. Let the people go to work. Let the people build the houses. Let the people lay the bricks. Let the people put the window pane. Let the people educate their children. Let the people find joy. Let the people find security. Let the people find justice. We will go forward by hope, not backwards, by fear. We will rebuild. We will rebuild houses, not jails. Houses, not jails. Hope, not despair. Hope, not despair. Courage, not fear. We will not win on Tuesday and lose on Thursday. This land is our land. I am somebody. I am God's child. Respect me, protect me, never neglect me. We'll fight and march. We will stop the detention center. We will build. Stop detention, develop. Stop detention, develop. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope.
We've also come to move from a protest to a plan. Obviously, the jail should not be built. It's a cost item that does not have good returns. There are 40,000 vacant lots of abandoned homes in this city. There's unemployment 40% in the Upton Druid Heights area.
Wow.
Why not rebuild 10,000 of the 40,000 homes? There'd be more jobs than there are unemployed people. Put people back to work and back in their homes again. And when that happens, you create more revenue, you create more hope, and you reduce crime.
Now, I want to know, follow the money. I keep asking, how did this get proposed? How did this get started? Who's funding it? And who's making money off of it?
There are those who believe jails are profitable, but also they think jail is the solution. It is not.